friends and lovers and all the others. Welcome to another episode of Pod from the Bunker. Let me see here. Should we give it a little... Is this in focus even? Oh, I think it's in focus now. I have a hat on frontwards, which is not good for cameras and lighting, but that's how we're going today. I had a guest come in before the podcast to do a live session, and I have a guest coming after the podcast. So it's been a busy day. I didn't brush my hair, and we left the hat on. But welcome in. Thank you very much for being here. I always address you as friends, lovers, and all of the others. So thank you for joining us. If you're any one of those three. I've been doing this show just try to connect with some other Twitch streamers and learn a little bit about them. And so if you are watching this on YouTube, you can watch it live on Twitch. If you're watching it on Twitch right now, thank you for being here. And there's a link in the chat for our guest that is popping up. Today we have Jory Avner. Is it Avner or Anver?
Yes, Avner.
Avner, excuse me. It's Jory Avner. I always mix it up because Anvil sounds so good. Jory Anvil. I put the N first. So his links are in the chat right now. If you're watching on YouTube, all the links will be in the description below. All of my links are in the description below. And all of my socials are just popping up on screen right now. If you'd like to give us a follow on any of these social platforms, that would be super helpful. We have some Live from the Bunker merch now. And if you just want to come and watch on Twitch, I'm streaming on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights pretty consistently now. So join us over there. Monday nights is always the podcast. And without further ado, I think we should bring in our friend from the Windy City. I met him over Twitch. He's a great music streamer like all of our guests are. His name is Jory Avner. And I got it right. Boom. And yeah, without further ado, let's bring our brother in and learn a little bit more about how he got to Twitch, his music career, and where he wants to take it. Hello. What's up, Jory? How are you? Oh,
how are you, man?
I'm doing well, dude. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me. I've always really respected and enjoyed your streams and your music. So,
well,
it's the honor is mine.
And the feeling is mutual, dude. I always was very into your streams, and you've done a great job. Like, it's funny to see the evolution right over time. Is we, we all start with like a certain level of, what our cameras look like, what our lights look like, and then even our scene. And like, you've done a really great job over there, dude. So
thanks, man. Yeah, I think when I first saw you, you came from Mixer, so you had already had a lot of experience, kind of like you had your setup all figured out. And there was a couple things that I was like kind of watching your stream to see how you do it. So,
right. Oh, thanks for that.
I was brand new. So.
Did you? So when was your first stream, Jory?
My first stream was actually April 1st of 2020.
Okay.
And you and I have this in common. Is like we've both been, lifer gigging musicians. So, that was what I was doing for like 10 plus years before COVID happened. And then I was kind of a refugee to Twitch when everything locked down and, everything shut down. My entire business fell apart.
Of course.
So, yeah. Twitch was kind of the natural option.
Right. Did you happen to start on like Facebook like a lot of people or anything else? Like I was on Mixer first.
Yeah, I did like maybe 2 or 3 streams on Facebook, and it was just so awful. Like the platform was just like not set up for that. And like I'd seen some of my other friends, like fellow musicians in the scene kind of doing it. And, I was like, I have all this recording stuff sitting around. Like, there's got to be a way that I can use it and like, get way better audio. And I don't have to like use my phone or use a webcam or something like that. Like, there's got to be a better way. And then I kind of remembered because I used to have this friend that played Fortnite and he streamed it on Twitch. And I remember his audio setup. Like, at least I know that you can get kind of hi-fi audio through it, or at least like MP3 320 audio out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like, I was like, I'm gonna try Twitch, I hooked up my board and all this stuff, and got on Twitch, and then from there, the first couple streams were rough, but I had an immediate mentor, kind of like Claire Pix. She rated me on my first stream. And kind of was like DMing me afterwards, like, all right, we got to fix your lighting. We got to fix your camera. Like, here's what we got to do. We got to get you a song list. Like, yeah. So
I had no clear picks. That's very good, dude. Isn't it great, the community on Twitch? Like the difference between any other platform, and I've talked about this with my partner and everyone else around me. It's like you don't understand the engagement level and the way that everybody scratches everybody else's backs. Like I've been trying to do a YouTube show, and I cannot get anyone to like. You know, subscribe or watch the videos or share the videos or any of that. But on Twitch, it's like seems to be known. Like this is what we're doing, guys. We're helping each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a big part of that is like the raid feature. On Twitch, it's like that kind of idea of like propping each other up and like, you know, it's kind of built into the platform, you know.
Yeah.
And also one of the things that I've always loved about Twitch is that like, you know, when you're like a gigging musician, like, you know, you can't really help your friends like the way that you can on Twitch. Like you can't like share that you know, you can't prop them up because if you like if you think about it, like people that come to your shows, if you have like, you know, let's say you're being really conservative with it and you're not trying to oversaturate the market with like your stuff. You have like an original gig, like a band show, like once a month maybe, like. You need everyone to come to that show. You can't like prop up your friends' stuff. You know what I mean? Because like the people that are coming out, like going out, like if you really tally up the expenses, you know, drinks at a bar plus a ticket, like plus transportation costs, like that's pretty expensive for like one person to come out, and to do that multiple times, and like you're potentially undercutting yourself by helping other people in the scene, just totally doesn't exist here. Like,
there's 15 million active users, so like we don't have 15 million active live music. You know, like there's just the potential for so much more reach. I always thought it seemed like Main Street internet. And the great thing about the raid feature is like if you're playing a show with 25 people or 50 people come to your show, you basically have a party bus outside and you're like, hey, my buddy Kev's playing 4 blocks east. Let's all get on this bus and we're all going to go over to Kev's show, and you bring your whole show into my show. Like to explain to the layman out there who don't understand exactly what's going on. This is what's happening. And it's quite phenomenal. Like to be able to drop off a bar load of people at another bar.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, it's one of the best parts about the platform, in my opinion. You know, so I think that's really great.
Yeah. Why did you start playing music, Jory? What was it? What was the itch, or what was the scratch?
Man, I think, you know, so I got my first record that I ever heard. The first time I ever like listened to something was I listened to Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, okay.
On cassette, and I was way too young to understand it.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say that's deep.
Yeah, man. So like my grandfather's house. Like my grandfather's a pretty eccentric out there guy, and he his house was just kind of littered with all this like random stuff. Like he had like a mannequin in the basement with a scuba suit on it. Like I don't know why. Like, you know,
he was a collector.
All kinds of. Yeah, some might call him a hoarder, but yeah.
You know? I like the positive word is collector. It's like, are you bossy or are you a leader? They're both the same thing.
Yeah, I get you. I feel you. That's a pretty good. I like that. But yeah, so he had all this stuff. I was digging around and exploring in his house when I was a kid. I found this old Walkman, and it took cassettes, and nobody had any cassettes. And then my aunt had like Dark Side of the Moon on cassette in like some dusty old box in the basement. So I did that, and I heard that. My fate was sealed. Like I didn't know what I was hearing. I just knew like that, whatever that is what I want to do.
Wow. So, and how old do you figure you were? Like 8 or 9, you said, or?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. When did you get your first instrument, and what was it?
I got, I think I was 9 years old. I got a bass guitar.
Okay.
I like begged my dad to get me a bass guitar.
Wow. So, and have you taken any lessons along your journey? Did you jump into lessons, piano, vocals, bass, anything along the way?
I studied bass, and I studied like kind of like jazz and theory when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was really big into jazz, like Stanley Clarke, Charles Mingus, you know, Jaco, obviously for bass, like
Victor Wooten.
Victor Wooten, man, Marcus Miller, like.
And now it's like Thundercat, right?
What's up?
Thundercat's the new
Thundercat. Yeah.
He's the new Victor Wooten in my mind, right? Like just the
Yeah.
funkiest, most on edge bass player going out there. So when did Flea come into your life? Come on, Flea's
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I listened to him a lot, like when I was younger, but like, I mean, Flea is great, but the Chili Peppers just don't really do it for me. You know
right.
what I
True.
mean?
No,
Yeah.
and you know what? Everybody has their, I don't. You can have pineapple on your pizza, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah,
I'm not gonna like tear
order
them
that.
down in any way. Like a
Yeah,
mad respect. It's just not really my thing.
totally.
But what's it called? But yeah, so then, I was studying all that kind of stuff when I was younger. Um, but that's pretty much it. That's like the only lessons that I really had was for bass and like learning music theory and the modes and all that stuff. So
That's pretty important stuff. How do you think that affected the rest of your music career moving forward? Like you said, you're a gigging musician, and I know you play guitar and sing. So,
yeah.
did that affect? Did that help you?
Yeah, I would say it definitely did. I mean, like, especially when it comes to like just even like, when I was in those formative years of songwriting and learning how to write songs, it's like just even down to like knowing what chords can go together and like how to get from A to B,
Right.
you know? And
Yeah.
that kind of understanding I found was like really like just valuable. And, you know, it, it's something I don't think about anymore because
Mhm.
it's just so like in me. So like it removed a lot of that kind of hurdle of like, where do I want this to go? What do I want this to sound like? What can I do with this? You know what
Right.
I mean?
Because
It removes that hurdle.
that's a big thing for me is like I want this to sound like a Quentin Tarantino song. So that's like whatever that may be a Phrygian mode or whatever
Yeah.
mode that is. It's like I could tell you the scale all day and tell you the feel, but we're not going to get to that emotional feeling without that specific mode. So like if I was writing
Yeah.
with you and I'm like, this has got to be like that, that Western sound that where you see
Sure.
the bull skulls in the desert sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. Some dusk till dawns type stuff.
Yeah. So what is like you have in the back of your mind, oh, these notes are gonna go together to make that feel, right? Does that
Yeah,
come
yeah,
natural?
sure.
So that's what comes natural to you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Just that little bit of knowledge, I suspect, allows you to make flavors in music that I just can't reach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wouldn't say you can't reach them. I mean, I don't. Are you a theory guy? Like,
I have had zero lessons in anything, dude. My dad showed me a couple chords, and then I logged on to a 56K modem and learned what I got with two chords on YouTube. It took 4 days to download the video to watch, that kind of thing.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm kind of like a self-taught troubadour kind of guy, but I've tried, but I feel like I started music so late in my life at 9 or 10 or whenever you got your first bass and started doing that. I feel like you were more of a sponge, and like I have too much in here already. I can't fit any. Is that wrong?
I know what you mean. Yeah, and also like I will say like while music theory is like I think really really helpful, it does kind of have a really large barrier to entry. Like it's like once you kind of get past that initial hurdle and you start like understanding like what are the intervals, like how do they work with the Ionian like or the Ionian scale, like the
Yeah.
major scale.
Right.
Like once you get through that stuff, which all sounds like a bunch of jargon at first, but then it's like it just clicks
It's
one day. And
feel.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's feel.
I got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Comes second
So
nature. I have never got to that point with anything except for probably singing. Like I play
sing.
guitar and I can play a little bit of keys. I actually have gotten quite a bit rustier and play a little bit of drums and stuff, but my main voice is my main instrument is my voice, and like I don't feel natural in much else. I have to try, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's funny because like for me, like I love singing and I love like I love writing songs and stuff, but like I feel like the voice is the thing that I struggle with the most. Like it's
Okay.
singing is like the hardest thing for me. So
Oh, right.
yeah, it's
And
just
it's
crazy.
yeah, everyone's different, right? Everyone has their own skills, and you kind of got to lean into what you're good at, and it's just the way that it is. And
Yeah,
if I'm scared of heights, I'm not going to be a roofer.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Unless like we were at the bitter end and I really had to climb up there, it would be slow. Your roof would take out 6 weeks to get done because I'm not
Yeah.
moving like some of those guys. But Jory, what do you think? Have you always? So you said 10 years you're a gigging musician. Did you have any jobs in between there, or did it always seem to work out for you? How do you balance sort of playing music and making money?
I mean, so I've worked like a million odd jobs. I worked on a ranch for a while in southern Idaho and
Whoa.
yeah, and I worked in like a tile place. I was lugging tile around and but I just like I have a really hard time like being bossed around or told to do certain things. And
Yeah.
so like, and I remember I was working in this tile place, and I had to like go and cut some tile for something. And so they sent me down to the basement. I worked there for maybe like a month and a half. They sent me down to the basement, and they were like, we need you to cut this. And like, there's like a table saw down there. I was like, okay. So I go down there. I think it's a table saw. I don't know anything about tools, but like, it was like, and they sent me down there, and like, there's this like rickety like table saw in the basement, and the concrete floor was like really uneven, like it got poured weirdly. And like I'm like looking at this thing, and it's like wobbling, and I'm like, nope. Like not doing that.
I quit
So
today, sir.
yeah, I like walked right upstairs, and I was like, I'm done, I'm out of here.
Safety
So
hazard, yeah. And like I feel like a lot of artists are like just entrepreneurs at heart. Like I mean,
Yeah.
you have your dream, you want to go for that dream, you're willing to do what it takes. You're willing to work 86 hours a week to not work for somebody
Yes.
else, right?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, like that's the thing that like I always say is like, you can't get into it for the money. Like, I think that more musicians should be more business minded.
Right.
Like, but I like, you can't get into it for the money specifically, because like there are so many easier ways to make a buck and make more bucks.
Yeah.
Like, but like it is hard work. It's a lot of work, and you have to kind of dedicate yourself to it daily. So
100%, man. Well, I didn't know you were a full-time gigger before Twitch, so it's fascinating to learn that you and I are like very much cut from the same cloth. And like, yeah, I don't make as much money as some of my friends who went to university to be an engineer or, a teacher,
yeah, totally.
or any of those. Even a lot of the tradesmen around here, like guys who went to tech school to be a plumber and stuff, they make a ton of money. And like, I don't. But I'll tell you one thing, Jory, is I'm a pretty happy dude. Like I like what I do, and when I have to go to work, it's not a struggle. Sometimes it can be, but it's that part of life is more valuable to me and my own time, and I think it is to you and most artists, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, like, it's even like, I mean, even on the craziest days where I'd have like 3 gigs back to back to back, and I'm like driving home at 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
like I'm not even listening to the radio or
No,
anything.
silence,
Like I'm just
just
sitting in silence on the freeway, like driving home with all my shit in the back. Like you're wiped out, you're exhausted, like,
but
but
you
you're
have
just
3
like,
tomorrow, and you're happy to get up and go do them, aren't you?
yeah, exactly. And it like you're fine. Not a thought in the brain. Like you're
Yeah.
not like, why the fuck am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like what am I doing? Like like
Yeah.
what am I doing with my life? There's nothing like that.
Well,
So
I think what's great is we understand that, but a lot of people out there listening or hearing this might not understand that. Like, yeah, like there's a certain level of like, how do I say, work that doesn't feel like work. Like we go to work and we do 3 gigs, and then we have to do 2 tomorrow, and then we gotta, maybe we have to do a live stream on Sunday too, because we got to keep that rolling. It's like it doesn't feel that bad. Like, yeah, we get tired, but not like you get tired, and we don't question like, why am I here every day? Like, it's such an important part of the dollars per hour that you make.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like oh
We got to follow. Bang, let's go.
yeah,
Bam with that tone guy. Boom.
yeah. Thanks for the follow.
I hope they came from over here. Yeah, if you're listening to this on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms, we record these actually live streamed on Twitch. That's why Jory and I are talking so much about Twitch. And so there's some people in the chat and some follows. And so sometimes we go away from our interview and say hi to people who are here. So welcome in, everybody, and thank you for being here. And if you are on any of the other platforms and you'd like to watch this on Twitch, it's Kev from the Bunker and Jory Avner music for each of us here. Jory, how do you think you would successfully release music? Because playing gigs is what you and I do to make money, but like it's very hard to make money when you release music. Is there any special sauce or creative ideas that you have for releasing music in 2022?
I mean, like, I think the big thing for me is I just try to make it like an event, and I try to make it like kind of a community event. You know what I mean? Like I try and give people like make them feel like they're also a part of it. Like, and Twitch makes that really easy because like, with like Discord and like, Patreon and all these other platforms now, like you can really like get people involved. And so like, I think like with releasing music comes obviously like a hype campaign. You obviously have to have, a campaign behind it. I'm currently working with a publicist. And so, we've been doing a lot of, interviews with different magazines, radio stations, and stuff like that. And like, I think that's important. But like, I think the other thing is just give people like the behind the scenes. Just let people know like, hey, a lot of love went into making this thing. A lot of
Right.
blood, sweat, and tears went into making this thing. Like, it would really mean the world to me if you came and supported it. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
also,
and that's a genuine feeling. It's not
yeah.
like some BS. But
Jory, you've been to other streamers' houses and stream rooms and stuff.
mhm.
And so we currently have a beautiful setup behind each of us. It looks nice and you get to see all that, but you don't get to see what we're looking at. And you don't
Oh
get to
yeah,
see the number of software programs and back end browser things and lights and cameras and cables and, all of these capture cards and things that people don't understand. And I get people to come when they walk in the room to perform, they look and they go, what the heck, man? Because they finally realize like what goes into how much you have to put into doing this live stream.
oh yeah,
So the
oh
same
yeah.
goes for the music. You show them the back end. You turn that camera around. You go, look at all these wires and look at all these lights and cables.
Mhm.
Similar with your music. I think it's like letting them in. And also with live streaming, it's like you can't be fake on here, man. People are gonna
Yeah.
know. Like with Instagram, it's like, 30 seconds, I'm this, blah, blah, and you dance like a clown, and then it
Mhm.
stops, and you go back to your sad life or whatever it is. But we can't do that. Like if you're feeling like crap on a Tuesday and it's your stream day, you go in there and you're like, you guys, we're playing somber songs. I'm not feeling it today. And we open up and people go, oh, that's another human being. So I think
Mhm.
you're absolutely nailing it with being like more engaged with releases,
Yeah.
more insider info. Like, hey, come on into this. My next question about that is like you said, your producer's been living with you. How do you like, how does that, relationship work for you and a producer trying to make a song that sounds like something you envision?
It's actually been really cool. So we were like really good friends. Like we met each other during the pandemic, like through Twitch, actually.
Okay.
And like our relationship, we really were not like setting out to like on a professional relationship level. Like we started out very much so as like friends. He was a little bit of a mentor to me too,
Yep.
because he kind of like taught me some stuff. I mean, my producer is Dean DiCioso. He recently worked on the new Candlebox record. He was the lead producer for Candlebox's Wolves. Um, he's worked with Fifi Dobson, American Idol, Netflix. Like he's done all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
he's an industry veteran at this point. So he's been showing me a lot of stuff, teaching me kind of like the kind of grandmaster level tricks and of the trade and stuff like that. And so yeah, I mean, like our relationship started like that, and then I kind of told him, I was like, I'm thinking about making a new record. Like I've got these songs that I really like, and would you want to do it with me? And he said, yeah, sure. And so we started working on it, and we did the single Plaything that came out September 16th. That was just released. That was us flying back and forth from Chicago to Texas, and then working down there, and we went into like Psychonaut drum studio and everything, and like
Wow.
yeah, it was a huge production, and it was a lot of fun. But then, now he came up here to work on the rest of the record and do what's called pre-production, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But if anyone out there is not familiar with pre-production, what that is, before you go in and on downbeat of like doing the recording with the band, like with the finals where you're in like that expensive studio and all that stuff, you kind of sit down and you roadmap all of the songs, and you create what are called demos. And they're essentially song templates that you can go in and like insert masters into, or like depending on how you're recording it, like what techniques you're using. But so he came up here to do pre-production for another 10 songs, and so we've just been working and living together for 3 months now, making music. And we were kind of joking, is like I feel like we're running like a little mini record label out of this house, because like
Yeah.
every single room in the house had like gear,
Nice.
like speakers, like all this stuff. We're like sitting there like, what do you got going on today? Like I got a call with like PR, like, and then it's like, yeah, okay, I'm working with this client over on like doing an attended mix, and it's like, all right, cool. Like, it was a lot of fun, and we got a lot done. And the scope of the record that we were working on too, also just like it became so ambitious, like we're right now looking at like we got to find a gospel choir, like so a lot of stuff
Awesome,
like
man.
that going on.
So
Yeah.
because you think because you're living together, there's more, you're not just traveling back and forth and trying to just get through it. You have the ability to bring in these other production levels and be more creative
Yeah.
because you're not spending that time traveling or not living
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
And also, I mean, like, there's just a lot of like off the clock work that gets done too, where like we're just sitting around like drinking at like 2 a.m. in the
Yeah.
kitchen, talking, listening to music.
Of course.
We're like, oh, I meant to talk to you about this thing in like chorus 2. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You can't do that if
So
you're
like,
not in the same quarters.
yeah, I know exactly. It's like you're constantly with each other, and like you're constant, like, and you're both so, because you're both there for 100% of it. So it's
Right.
like just works. It just worked really well. And also, like, he's just a really, really good friend of mine. So like,
Awesome.
I haven't had a roommate in God, I don't even know how long, but like, I did it. I've lived alone for forever, and it didn't even feel like anything was
Awesome.
like different having you
Disrupted.
as a
Yeah.
roommate.
Yeah. It was only enhanced. That's great, man.
Yeah.
So you're doing 10 pre-production songs right now, and you said you just had a release. What do
Yeah.
you? I always have people perform for us. So what would you like to perform for us today?
I can play actually a new song, and then there's now you know what I'll play the single.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, how about you let me? You get yourself ready. I'm just gonna put you over to full screen, and then I'll mute myself once we're over there.
Awesome.
All right, my dude, it's transitioned. It is all yours. I'm going to mute myself. If you want to tell the story about this song or let us know how it came about and where it's going and all your plans, the stage is yours.
Sure. Yeah. I tend not to actually explain too much about my songs because I don't really want to like take anything away from anyone who has their own personal experience with it. You know what I mean? I like to kind of let it wash over people without any like pretext or anything like that. But it's a song called Plaything, and I guess what you can know about it is about making a plaything out of things you shouldn't. It's honest work to keep my head on straight. What's another day in bed? I'm scared of dying in the prairie state, staring at the walls while longing for a former friend. It's autumn fires and Halloween. They make me think of you. And the cold wind cuts right through. It was love that kept us hanging on. Some people can't be held. You made a plaything out of right and wrong. It wasn't what you did to me. So much is for yourself. So take me all apart in folds of your Egyptian sheets. Don't tell me what it means. The dark of the heart seems forlorn. The end of this call is well worn. Take the lead and leave it all be. Yeah. The dark of the heart seems forlorn. The end of this call is well worn. Take the lead and leave it all be. Oh, yeah, yeah. Take the lead and leave it all behind. Take the lead and leave it all behind. Yeah, 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 yeah. Autumn fires and Halloween, they make me think of you. There we go.
That was beautiful, brother.
Thanks, man.
Great
the full band version of it is even crazier.
And like great chord changes there. There's a couple things going on that I was like, oh, that's an interesting change to happen at that moment.
Yeah.
Perks my ears up. I'm always in. I call those Beato moments, right?
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah, Rick Beato.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've ever seen the sort of spoof channel that was made by Pat Finnerty.
No, I haven't.
Oh, man, you have to go watch Pat Finnerty's YouTube channel. It is a must. I will send you the link after the chat's over. Dude, he is the coolest. He's just like you and I. And like he does these Rick Beato like videos, but like they're obviously quite different. And he just kind of like chews on songs that he doesn't like I don't know, pick a weird pop rock song, mostly by Train or Kryptonite or like one of these songs. And it's like, he's like, it's just, anyways, I'll send it to you. I don't want to talk too much about it, but shout out to Pat Finnerty. He's one of my favorite YouTubes follows. He's hilarious. Yeah. So what generally sparks an idea for a song for you, Jory? How did that come about? And like, how do you get inspired to write something? What's that about for you?
It's usually just, like a feeling or, if I feel like there's something that I need to like process, that's songwriting is generally my go-to for that kind of stuff. Or it can be something as simple as like, that song, it was a kind of a combination of things. It was like I was processing some stuff. But the first thing to come out of that song was like the autumn fires and Halloween makes me think of you. And I was like, I just had that in my head for like months. And I didn't do anything with it. And I just kind of let it steep. And then I sat down and I wrote it and it just came out like that.
Don't you love those ones?
Yeah. That's my favorite stuff is when that happens.
How do you go about writing a song when it's a little bit more work? What's the process there?
I kind of just sit down and like I just do it. Like I don't know how to explain it because I've been doing it for so long. I mean, I've been writing songs since I was like, I don't know. I don't even know how old. Like, I think I wrote lyrics before I even knew how to play an instrument. Like I remember like writing stuff when I was like a little kid.
Poetry and stuff.
Yeah, because I think at the time, I listened to a lot of music for like, because of my sister who's like 9 years older than me. So I'd wake up in the morning, like, she always had like VH1 or MTV on in the morning and stuff. So I had a lot of exposure to like pop music and stuff, which I don't like, but like.
It is what it is. Mine was 90s country, right? So that's what
90s country. That makes sense. Yeah.
It was like
I can totally see that.
Alan Jackson and Shania Twain was on all the time. And then my mom always had like a couple little oldies. But that leads me to one question that I usually ask is like, what's in your parents' or I guess your sister's record collection that influenced you?
So I think, so my dad really is the one that listens to music. He's not like an extremely musically inclined person. And I don't think that he gets the same thing out of it that I do. Like, like one of the things I remember, we were on this road trip one time. I was talking to him and he told me, I asked him, I was like, have you like, has a song ever made you cry? And he was like, no.
Oh,
so like,
I can't even put the radio on. And some days I'm just like, get out of here. I have to listen to a podcast. There's no way I'll just cry all the way there.
Oh, dude, I know. Like, I feel that totally. Or something like even when you're playing a song, and
you get it's something you. Oh yeah, hell yeah. That's a moment, right? When you got to kind of stuff that down a little bit because you're like, I'm performing. I can't do this.
Yeah. You're like, don't let the ice crack, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, man. That's a fine line,
uh,
but I think that's
yeah,
probably the precipice of like the precipice of being the most exposed and the most relatable. Like
yeah,
for your audience, they go, "Oh yeah, I feel like look at this person being open hearted and letting themselves go." Like that's probably the precipice of being the most natural
yeah,
and honest you could be, really, right?
yeah. And I mean, you can't fake that. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no, that's
yeah,
real. Yeah. I mean, the
yeah,
way that music physically can make you excited to dance, the hair on your neck stand up, your eyes well up full of water. It's just astonishing to me. It's like
mhm,
you can't see it, but you can sure as hell feel it.
yeah. It's amazing to me. Like I think that's the thing that, like, going back to Dark Side of the Moon and all that stuff. It's like it's incredible the power that like music, in my opinion, is the closest thing to real magic that there is. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it can really just it can. I mean, it just its ability to stir you and move you and things like that is just
Right.
is profound.
I,
I've always said that music is the hardest drug there is.
Uh, that's funny. I like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your dad is like a bit of a listener, but like, was there any formative records that were on in the car or radio stations that had a certain genre of music that maybe influenced you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, so he always listened to like the Beatles, Neil Diamond, Barbara Streisand. I know he really likes the soundtrack for Mamma Mia. I think that's like his
Yeah.
favorite like thing ever.
Right.
So like,
Yeah. Eclectic.
it's a lot of that. I think I remember we had Fleetwood Mac rumors like
Okay.
kind of floating around.
How about your
But
sister's record collection? You said she put on MTV and VHS, VH1 and all that stuff, but is there any
yeah,
CDs that she
she
would put
was
on?
really into like Backstreet Boys and
Okay.
Spice Girls and stuff like that.
Okay.
Beyonce.
The super pop.
So yeah, so the super mega pop, and this is, back in the day when VH1 and MTV still played music.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so
You could actually hear instruments. It's wild.
yeah, I know it's nuts. Like so back then I remember hearing like Macy Gray all the time and stuff
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
Alanis Morissette.
Do you think that you like some of that pop music came through, or do you think that like the jazz training and stuff just kind of led you down your own path, or how do you think that your families or your growing up listening to different types of music affected the way you write, perform, and carry yourself
Yeah.
today? Honestly, you're quite a. Someone said in chat you have a great energy about you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't really play a lot of jazz type stuff anymore. Mostly I just, I think a lot of that stuff comes out more in like, I'll write with a lot of like augmented chords or something like that. Like, but they're really just passing tones. Like they're not like
Yeah.
the focus of the tune. They're not like really heavily embedded in the progression. Like I'm not making a statement with a seven or like a major minor seven or something like that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So
As a
um
bass player, I think that's also important because the bass is such a root note driven and like some through
yeah.
notes, but a lot of root notes. Unless you're walking to the next note, those are very
Yeah.
purposeful notes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very rhythmic, So
Yes.
like I think it's helped me in that sense just to kind of know what I'm doing. But I've always kind of gravitated back towards like the Beatles and, like Fleetwood Mac and,
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff. I got really like this is gonna sound crazy, but like the song that kind of changed my life when I was like maybe 13, 14 was I Will Follow You Into the Dark by Death Cab for
Oh,
Cutie.
okay. Yeah.
And
That
like
changed a lot of
first
people's
time
lives.
Yeah, the first time I heard that song, this is like the height of me learning like jazz and like metal even. Like I was really into metal too at the time. And so like I heard that song. I'd never heard it before. And I heard it at my bass teacher's gig. His band was taking an intermission and the singer guy, like their front man, I guess you could say, just stayed for one more song and he played that song. And I was like, what the hell was that? Like, I want to do that. And so that's
Yeah.
when I like, yeah, I had never even played a guitar before that. Like I never even considered it. But then that was when I was like, I like that a lot. And that
Yeah.
was like the birth of me wanting to become like a singer songwriter type.
Yeah. That's a
So
very folk ish song, right?
yeah.
Like just very acoustic guitar, high capo on it too, kind of
Mhm.
keeping it in this like upper register and Very
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah, I love that tune, man. And I think that was that was an impactful song. Like I often ask, like, what's it take to be a rock star nowadays? Or do you think there's going to be a timeless song like, Voodoo Child ever again? I mean, it seems like it when you mention things like that. And
Yeah.
the Backstreet Boys were a rock star when rock stars weren't cool, and Justin Bieber, and now it's a YouTuber or a Twitch person that's the biggest rock star in the world. So, what about
Yeah.
you, Rory? What do you think it takes to become a rock star, or like reach that echelon of like sort of legendary status?
Um, probably money. Like if I'm
Ah,
being real, it
I
probably
appreciate
takes some
that. I
money.
appreciate that. That's a great answer. All day
Yeah,
long.
I don't know, because like the people that I think are like the real rock stars, like the greatest rock stars, like they don't give a shit about
Y-
that stuff. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
Like
Well,
that's in my opinion. Like I think those guys are like the real rock stars.
right. The guys who don't
So
even, they're not even on social media. They're just ripping it and you don't even know they
yeah,
exist. Yeah. So I watched The Alpinist last night. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a
no,
Canadian free solo climber who unfortunately is no longer with us, but Alex Honnold, everyone knows him. He's the most famous free soloer. And they asked him in an interview, who do you think's exciting coming up? And he's like, Marc-Andre Leclerc. And they're like, who's that? And he's like, he's this guy who climbs the mountains that no one knows. And he climbs the most ridiculous things. And he did. He just did it because he wanted to do it, not because he wanted the accolades of it.
yeah,
It's fascinating. So it's like, yeah, he's the real rock star. Now he's no longer with us because you can't play with fire like that. You ever heard that term
yeah,
the kids say, fuck around and find out?
yeah,
I mean, that guy was doing some really dangerous shit. I'm not trying to shit on him, but like,
yeah.
we can make a mistake. The string breaks in the middle of the song. We go, oh, we'll put a new string on. There's no mistakes
Yeah.
in that world, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's unfortunate, but I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just
That's
the fact that he was
very
doing it. Not. I don't mean to step on the fact that he's not no longer with us. But what I was trying to say is that he's a rock star in the fact that he was not at, and like even the rock stars, they're like that's the
Mhm,
rock star over there who's not asked, who's not even on television.
mhm.
Fascinating. If you ever get a chance to watch that, I think it's on Prime, maybe.
Yeah, I'll check it out,
But
man.
I'm in Canada, so but it is that's a different kind of human, dude. I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, I've always been obsessed with people who are obsessed, like
Yeah, yeah.
obsessive, like, and I think that like going into, I mean, to do anything well, you kind of have to have that. I was talking with my producer Dean DeChoso
Mhm.
about this. We were kind of like sitting there, and we were like in the middle of like writing something for a song, and it was like really kind of complicated and weird what we were doing, and he just kind of turns to me and he's like, why are we like this? Like, like what, like, why are we doing this to ourselves right now?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think that's probably why, like, people in the arts like tend to have kind of like, I don't like a little bit of mental health problems that I think are very prevalent, or mental health problems are very prevalent, I think, amongst like the arts community, or amidst the arts
Well,
community,
I think
because like,
that we have so much. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Because why?
oh no, I was gonna say, because like I think there's an obsessiveness to it.
Yeah.
There's a willingness to, I mean, like even learning an instrument, I mean, it's torture on your body.
Yeah,
Like it's,
it's very
you know what I mean?
difficult.
It is a very unnatural
You
thing
could
to
be a
do.
DJ after the weekend's over, but
Yeah.
you can't go and play in a band after the weekend's over, and that's why you see so many people doing it. It's easier, the easy way out, man. It's very simple. It's very easy to just do this. Well, look, I'm now a rock star. And the guy's hands are in the air and he's doing this. And I'm like, you're not, I get it if you produce that and all that, but you're not, like, it's very different. It's quite a
Yeah.
different thing. And it's hard. Someone learns an instrument, and even, I don't play instruments very well. I play them well enough. Well, better than most of the population, but not better than most musicians. And
I would say I'm probably the same, actually. So
yeah. So, but like it took a long time, right? And we're not even the biggest rock
yeah.
stars. Like we're not the best at our instruments. So you can imagine the
No.
hours that these people have put in who are actual phenoms, right? It's
Oh, I know. I mean, like people, like Stuart Ham or like Guthrie Govan,
yeah,
like these guys, like are just. I mean, they're so incredible. It's like superhuman ability, like watching them do what they do, and like, I've been playing now for, how old am I? I'm 31. I've been playing now for, if not 20 years, if not close to,
yeah.
and like I'm nowhere near that
Yeah.
level of like being able to play. And it took a lot of work. It took a lot of work to get there. A lot of hours alone in the bedroom,
Mhm.
listening to stuff back on the, on the record. Like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Man.
just really kind of applying like mental like math to the guitar and like figuring out how everything is interconnected and like,
Fortitude.
just because I understand it theoretically doesn't necessarily mean that like
Your hands
it
move
can be
there. Yeah.
practiced. Yeah, like that's like the mechanical level of doing things.
Yeah.
It's just an entire other part of it.
Yeah.
There's a whole mental side to it, but then there's just at the very core there's a mechanical side to it too.
Mhm.
And like I don't know, it's a lot. So I think that you have to be kind of, you know, you have to be kind of a glutton for punishment if you're into
Well,
like learning this stuff.
can I say something about the mental health thing? Is like
Yeah.
we put our heart and souls and every, like, some guy, if he does a plumbing or thing, he puts some effort into it, or he puts his heart, but like it's not the same when I write a song from my insides, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when no one, like, I shouldn't say that, when the culturally it's not accepted as valuable, it takes a toll on you, because you're like, what do you mean my heart and soul isn't worth something, my poetry, my art? And then I say to people, what if there was no art for one weekend? No music. You can't go out. There's no dancing. Your wedding is this weekend. Oh, guess what? You don't have a cellist there. Oh, you're in the elevator. It's dead silent. You can hear the guy fart beside you. Oh, you went to the barber shop. All you hear is ch of the scissors. The music is everywhere, dude, and it's valuable to people until they don't realize. Like, it's like taking away something, right? You grow fonder. So I think that's another.
I mean, even like I'm sure you've seen this, but it's the ending of Star Wars, but they removed all the music.
Oh yeah, and it's just no emotion at all. I've seen that in every
So
movie.
awkward.
Yeah.
It's so awkward. I mean, like it's all around us, and we're so accustomed to it and attuned to it being all around us all of the time that like you don't really notice it until it's gone.
Yeah, the value is lost, right? Like it's supply and demand. The supply is so high. There's so much music and so much being released all the time that the demand is, there's more supply than there's demand. So the value has gone down. And so for us as artists, it's very difficult. Like if the price of the couch that you sell goes down, it's not the same as if the price of my song goes down or the value of my art. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, like especially like to have like to write a song, and every songwriter has had this happen to them. You write a song and then you show it to someone and they just kind of go, yeah.
And you're like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, it's good. It's like, but ow, like that hurt.
Not the reaction I was looking for, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's hard out there for a pimp. This is what they say in the music game. All right, dude. Well, let's see here. Do you want to play us another tune before we get to our last segment of the show where we have a little bit more fun? Because this has been a great conversation, but I do want to hear one more song from you.
Yeah, sure, man.
Awesome.
Let's see. I played kind of a more up-tempo one. I'll play a down-tempo one.
Sounds great, dude. I'm going to give you the full screen, and you can, like you said, if you don't want to, introduce the song, and I'll mute myself.
Awesome.
My man, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. All right, this is a song I wrote recently. It's called What Nobody Wants. It's kind of a patient song, but it picks up. Crumpled up paper, old lighters and string. I couldn't adjust, so I sold everything. Now it's all junk that nobody wants. It's for the best was your only response. Nobody's perfect, that's not a crime. You said I deserved this all of my life. So high on my heartache, righteously so. Can't find a reason to walk myself home. I like the city, the constant of change. 'Cause it feels like I'm moving while running in place. Said I was sorry, held out for hope. It's not too late, but what do I know? I never loved you, that's what you said. Then called me an addict and curled up in bed. You saw the future, then you got scared. Oh, baby, I'm sorry that I wasn't there. I was caught up in traffic, stopped on the tracks, lost on the west side, spilled through the cracks. I was singing your praises under my breath, while sick on the spiral of thoughts about death. There we go.
Another beautiful song, dude.
Thank you very much. That's probably the newest one I've written.
Really? So how many
Yeah.
songs do you think you have in like your completed repertoire, and how many songs in your incompleted repertoire?
Oh God. You know, I've written so many of them that I think I don't even remember. I in my incomplete repertoire, there's got to be thousands.
Yeah.
You know, half song, like, you know, because I used to write every day, like,
Yeah.
and you know, like when I wasn't busy with anything. I mean, like I'm kind of a homebody, you know, like I don't, you know,
Yeah.
like going out and like going to a large party is like not my scene, you know.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, I would sit and just write, and I have so many just like verse and a chorus, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are those voice memos and notes in your phone? Or are they on paper somewhere?
Oh yeah. When you're driving and you're just like singing into your phone, like
it's got that of driving down the road going on too in the background. You're like, what's that?
On the road, yeah.
You just hear like, murr, murr. It's like, oh, I just passed a truck there. Sorry about that in the recording.
Yeah. Apologizing to your future self.
What was the first concert you attended, Jory?
Queen.
No shit. Holy hell. You can't go really much.
Yeah.
The next band's, you're in trouble. The next band. Sorry about that. Next bands. Every next band ever. What the hell? That's amazing. So tell me about this story.
So I mean, it was like it was on an airstrip in Cleveland. So it was outside on this airstrip out there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and like it was incredible. Like, and I actually got pretty close to the stage and everything. I went with my aunt and uncle. Like, you know.
How old do you think you were?
12, maybe.
How do you think that affected you?
I mean, it blew my mind, especially like seeing Brian May up there, you know, because at the time I had already started like playing. And so like seeing Brian May, like he was wearing like, because it was on an airstrip. And so he was wearing like a flight suit.
Yeah.
You know, all
Very
these
cool.
like patches on it and stuff. And like, he's just up there like jamming, man. Like he was ripping it up, like in the way that Brian May does with his hand wired Vox AC30s and his
Yeah.
Les Paul.
A tone that most people can never attain, right?
I know. I was actually talking with someone about his tone recently, and it's because of that his very handpicked, curated AC30. That he always plays with. So,
are you a gear junkie?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm a tech nerd.
Do you like to fix things, or do you like to? How's that go for you? You like to sort of refurb stuff, get old gear, and make it better again? How's that work?
I always wish that I could, but I have this really weird problem with my fingertips. It's like when I'm doing something really fine with them, they start to like I don't know how to explain the feeling, but I get this really awkward, uncomfortable feeling in my fingers, so
Okay.
I can't do it. But I wish that I could, because I love that stuff. Like I love gear. I like.
You just don't tinker as much as you wish you could, or whatever. Like, but you're like, watch the videos and you know all about it, but you just don't tinker physically.
Yeah, I can't do it. Like it drives me crazy, and I'm constantly like cracking my knuckles. I don't know. It's something weird with my hands.
I also like, there's a certain like frustration level, and my eyesight is horrible. So little stuff is like extra difficult for me. My nose is this far away. I'm like, okay, we'll get this in there somehow. Even stringing a guitar is a ridiculous thing for me.
Oh yeah, like when you have to like sit there and like thread it through and make sure
it's 2 a.m. There's people all around drinking, and there's no lights, and you broke a string, and they're like, encore, and you're like, oh god, I gotta put a string on right now. How am I gonna get that through the hole? And then there's a stage light shining in your face, and you're like, I can't see anything right now.
Yeah, you're like on stage with those floodlights.
Yeah,
in the spot.
Yeah, you can't see a damn thing. Everyone can see you. It's just black everywhere. You're like, what the?
Oh yeah. Dude, that's all. That was always like the craziest thing to me. Is like the first time I got on stage, and it was like, you really can't see anything.
No. It's just an abyss because the sun is shining in your face. It's like you're driving west at the sunset. You're just like, oh.
Yeah, and how hot those lights are too, man. Like,
thank God for LEDs nowadays. Like, they're switching them out pretty quickly. But man, back in the day, they'd have literally a floodlight there, like a 120 watt giant bulb that just cooks you. It was like an air fryer.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Like you're sitting up there sweating, and like, like I always like. I like to like wear collared shirts and stuff when I perform, but like I always wear an undershirt just because it's like you cannot risk it,
Yeah, and sweating so much too, right?
Yeah.
I always sweat through every shirt, and like I sometimes in the summertime I'll bring 2 or 3 shirts to the gig because I'm like, I gotta swap this out. It's soaked. I soaked right through this thing on a patio somewhere. It's 45 degrees out, Wild.
My car where I like leave all my like my gig setup basically. I got like amp. My board. I'm actually using the board that I usually use for live stuff.
Right.
Now, but that I right behind all that stuff is like also just like a coat hanger rack that has like
the extra goods.
Yeah. Just stay in my car for whenever I need to go gig or something.
Right. And also like, they comp you a meal, so you got chicken wings, and then drop one down your shirt, and you're like, I got to go to another gig, and I have chicken wing sauce all over my shirt because I'm a slob when I eat. So that's another one.
Oh, man, I don't risk eating chicken wings in public.
So you got a lot of great things coming up. There's 10 songs coming out from you. There's always goals along the way. But Jory, what do you think your final goal would be in your music career? Where do you land that makes you a happy, content human being?
I would like to have my own studio.
Okay.
Like not like I have a studio right now, but I would like to have like a real studio.
Okay.
I love like one of the things that I really love is also recording other people, like in recording myself and like, that gear, like I don't know what it is. It just tickles that weird spot in my brain that makes the dopamine go off when I look at like, like an 1176, like or something, or I look at like, like a Neve console or something. I'm just like, oh man, like that looks awesome. I want to play with that.
Totally.
I don't know if I can ever really afford a Neve console because the power bills on those things are like $30,000 a month.
Yeah, it's like getting a refrigerator from the 50s. The thing is like, it's like sucking more power than a Tesla does, right? It's insane. So you think owning your own studio and liaisoning other musicians and recording other musicians and yourself of sort, but like upper scale.
Yeah. Yeah, like upper scale. Like I'd like to, there's some pieces of gear that I would really like to own. There's some guitars that I would really like to own, like,
Yeah,
and the thing is like they would all get used. Like I'm not trying to gatekeep anyone from being able to like use this stuff,
of
So
course. Yeah.
yeah,
No, you can tell you have a kind, open heart. It's like, come use it. I just want it so we can get it on all these recordings.
yeah, I know. Like chamber body Les Paul Supreme. You can
Yeah.
get that real singing soaring tone. Like
The
let's
sustain
put it
on
on
that.
everything.
Yeah, the sustain is forever too. Like, vroom. You got to wait forever to like cut it off at the end of the final note.
Yeah.
What makes you happy, Jory?
Just songwriting, playing music, chatting with awesome singer songwriters like yourself, hanging with good folks, enjoying tunes, preferably with a beer.
Yeah, right on. So I guess just good hangs, and in your studio is the future for you, my man. That's what it is.
Hopefully.
It's not hopefully. This is the thing we put out there. I've been taught by my partner, no, it's not hopefully. This is going to happen.
Wise.
That energy is not cocky, it's confident. Who's the best, Jory? Who's the best?
All of us, actually.
You're the best. You're the best, Jory. You remember on Cool Runnings?
Yeah. I haven't seen that in forever.
He takes the one guy into the guy who's like, like a little less confident. He takes him into the bathroom. He looks him in the mirror. He says, what do you see? And the guy's like, I don't know. I see a guy. He's like, no, I see a bad mother. And he starts telling him all this awesome, positive stuff. And then he asks him again, what do you see now? And he's like, yeah, I see this. So yeah, just own your confidence, my man. You're doing great things. And I look forward to all the success for you, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Your energy is just so warm and welcoming that nothing but good things can happen to you, sir. So
I would say the same for you, my friend. So this has been really awesome. Thank you so kindly.
yeah, I appreciate you, brother. I'll let you hang up the call. I'm going to close out this with a little bit more promo for some links for you and stuff and myself. And we're going to connect on Twitch soon, my brother.
Thank you so much.
Have
an awesome day.
Nice to chat to you, brother. Thank you. Take care. Hey, yo, another one bites the dust. That was fun. How you like that? Jory is, what a kind heart and soul. All of his links are below. We're going to get a link tree together. His website is there. Make sure you follow on Twitch. It's Jory Avner Music. Everywhere else, it's just Jory Avner, so you can find him on all of his socials out there. The links are in the chat right now. If you're watching this on Twitch, thank you for being here. All of my socials are popping up right now. It's Kev from the Bunker on Twitch, where we do this live. And I have another performance coming back today. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can come see live stuff. Everything that goes on here goes onto the YouTube, and then it goes out to all the podcast platforms. So you can search for Pod from the Bunker on your favorite platforms. You give us a like, a rating, and review. All the links to the merch are below. All the links to my Twitch channel, my TikTok, everything is popping up. So check everything out. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everyone from Jory's community, for coming through and watching. And I look forward to doing this again and again, forever and ever. And until the next time we do this, keep it between the mustard and the mayonnaise.